Welcome into the October 18th edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. The Leafs leafed it again. Dave, an embarrassing loss to the Arizona State Coyotes. Nick Ritchie had a multi-point night. How hot are some seats in Toronto? Let's discuss it on today's edition of Locked On Leafs.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother on TSN's Overdrive and TSN 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me is my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also a writer for the NHLPA. Locked On Leafs is a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast, so be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from. You can also now catch us up on video on YouTube. Just search up Locked On Leafs on YouTube. Hit subscribe and watch new content coming right to you each and every day, Monday through Friday. That's 5 shows a week, all Leafs, all the time. David, how did it happen again? How did it happen again where the Maple Leafs, massively favored, expected to go in and not just win, but mop the floor with their opponent and come away with 0 points on the evening? Please explain how that happened again, sir.
See, I think what the Toronto Maple Leafs need is an instruction manual, okay, that tells them that talent doesn't mean that you just show up, put your skates on, skate, move the puck, and not do anything else. I can't remember who it was, which player had said it, but they said that we know that coming into our arena, every team is going to try to make a statement against us.
That was Mitch Marner.
Was it Mitch Marner?
Mm-hmm.
Funny we're bringing up Mitch Marner right now because I have something to say about Mitch Marner a little later. But they know that these wins, look at the Montreal Canadiens win last Wednesday. Look at the GM of the Coyotes when they were ahead in the game. This is their Stanley Cup. Did you see the graphic the Arizona Coyotes put up after this game?
I haven't seen it. Do I want to see it?
So there was a stat brought up about the Leafs. Like, this is not.
They haven't won. The Leafs haven't won in Toronto against the Arizona Coyotes in regulation since 2002. 20 years since the Maple Leafs have been able to win in regulation against this team. And that streak continued tonight.
Literally, they tweeted out, keeping the streak alive.
All right. So 4-2 was the final. Okay, 4-2 was the final. The Maple Leafs lose to the Arizona Coyotes, and it was honestly an embarrassment. Like, I was out there. I was watching the game up in the media gondola, and I got a chance to watch it with these own 2 eyes. I actually had to watch it. I couldn't look away like some people. Flipped to the Monday Nighter, which also is a bit of a
that wasn't much
fire as well. But watching this game, man, like, we're all up there in the media gondola. Like, this is brutal. Like, this is honestly brutal, and which is really weird because I actually thought the first, 4 or 5 minutes of the game, I thought the Leafs had some jump. I thought that they were really taking it to Arizona. They had a lot of offensive zone time. They were firing a lot of shots. They weren't landing on net, which I think is also something that was very concerning throughout the game. Bring that up a little bit later. But, I felt that they were at least controlling the game. And we talked about that yesterday. They didn't have to blow them out. As long as they controlled the game from start to finish, even if it was like a 3-1 final, I would have been happy. I would have thought that that was good enough. I didn't need to see an 8-1 final for me to be happy about the Leafs taking on Arizona. We saw the complete opposite of that. There were times where Arizona was just completely working Toronto. Like, you look at these two teams on paper, like, Nick Ritchie is a top line player, a top power play player for this Arizona team. Nick Ritchie scored a goal tonight for this squad.
He had 2 points.
2 points, had a goal and an assist for this team. Like, legitimately, he is a top 6 player for them and couldn't hack it in the Maple Leafs lineup. Yet, he was too much to handle for Toronto today. Too much to handle. Christian Fischer was too much to handle for this team tonight.
Shane Gostisbehere.
Shane Gostisbehere was too much to handle. Mosier, you couldn't get anything past Vejmelka for, the first, 58 minutes of the game? Like, this was honestly an embarrassing effort by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I don't even, you don't want to overreact to one game, right? But the fact that I think coming into this one, after what we had witnessed on the Wednesday night season opener against Montreal Canadiens, where again, they played down to their opponent, let them dictate the game, and ultimately lost, we said to ourselves, that couldn't possibly happen again, right? They gotta have some sort of reality check and come prepared, ready to work hard, ready to play with purpose and win this game. Dude, I saw no purpose out
No.
there. No purpose. It was sloppy. They weren't connecting on passes. They were fanning on shots. Every shot that they were taking was going off the side of the net. Like, it was just such a sloppy, sloppy game by Toronto. And it's not like Arizona was out there, playing outstanding hockey. Like, they were playing just pretty simple puck. And
Yeah.
Toronto was just, again, trying to be too cute, trying to be fancy, thinking that they're better than everybody else. Oh, we'll skate around all up at the top of the zone. We'll skate along the half wall. You got all this ozone time and did absolutely squat with it. Absolute squat. I thought that it was honestly maybe one of the most painful games from a Maple Leafs perspective that I've had to watch in a long time.
Yeah, I would say so. It's funny because a friend of mine was at that game. I said, "You actually paid money to go and watch this team?"
A lot of
First of
people
all,
did, unfortunately. There's like
yeah,
18,000 people in there. And I'll say this, there were more more boo chants in tonight's game than goalies go chants. Just goes to
I
show how putrid they truly were. Like, the first unit power play, after getting absolutely nothing done for like the third power play in a row, they got booed hard.
good,
Hard. And
good.
it didn't stop, really. After the second period, the whistle or the final buzzer went in the second period, boos hard. Yeah, the crowd was not a fan of the effort that they saw put forward by the Leafs tonight either.
You know what? I hear so many times, "Oh, Scotiabank Arena sounds like a more. The real fans don't go to the game." I'm sorry, real fans would not even be cheering that. If you were cheering that effort tonight, it would actually make you seem like a fake fan, in my opinion. Like, and it's not like the Leafs were playing in a way that got the crowd excited. Fact of the matter is the in-game experience doesn't get the Leafs fans excited either. So unless the Leafs are actually doing anything well in the game to get fans excited, no, I think the boos were definitely warranted, which is why Mitch Marner's celebration of his goal was the most childish thing I have ever seen. That is ridiculous what he did.
It was. I'm not gonna harp on him too much. Like, it's a game tying goal. You had just scored 2 goals really quickly. Adrenaline takes over. It is what it is. Like, that's the least of my concerns when
Oh,
I break
it's
it
not,
down.
I'm not happy about it, but I'm like, there's a lot more that went wrong with that game than that celebration. But I
Well,
think it's a
well,
combination.
good for you. You finally put in work. You had one good shift all
Yeah,
game, and look at that, turned to a goal, and now you're gonna celebrate. Like, but you should have been doing this 55 minutes before this.
like I did the shot props for tonight.
Oh, me too, dude. So that's what was so upsetting about
Yes,
when you. So the Arizona Coyotes were legitimately averaging 48 shots against the game. 48 shots against the game. Okay. Toronto had 5 shots on goal in the first period. 5 shots on goal. They had 19 shot attempts, but only 5 actually reached the net. That's only 26%. 26% of the shots that you take on reaching the net. That's pretty pathetic. That tells
it
me one of
is.
two things. You either aren't, you know, You're not finding shooting lanes and you're just being lazy. So you're just kind of shooting it right into the defenders, which lots of blocks tonight on Arizona end. And it wasn't really, they didn't have to do much. Toronto just
Yep.
shot it into their legs, shot it into their feet. Or they also weren't taking the time to properly, use focus and patience and shoot it on net. Because the amount of shots I saw go off the side of the net was incredible tonight. Incredible. And I just sat there like, how many times could they possibly hit the side of the net? Like, can we just get it on goal? Like, please, at some point, the Maple Leafs, can they just shoot a puck on net? Like, Vamelka is not Shesterkin here. It's not Vasilevsky here. If you shoot on goal and then you try and get in his kitchen, you might be able to jam at a rebound goal or something.
Like, it's the 2 goals the Leafs scored. You get the guy moving a little bit, he's not gonna stop it.
Yeah.
Like the Nylander one, he finds a loose puck and he buries it. And then the Marner one, like, you get the guy moving. Even the goal that was disallowed, you put a little pressure on them, and guess what? Like, there was just no, what it was, there was no urgency in their
Zero.
play. 0.
Zero. Until the final 5 minutes of the game. And how often do we talk about that with this team? Year after year after year. They play like garbage for 55 minutes and then randomly decide, oh, guys, we're actually down by 2 goals. We better kick it into third gear. And all of a sudden they come out and they start firing. Sometimes they're able to, cut that lead and they're able to come back and win and it doesn't bite them in the ass. A
Mhm.
night like tonight, first of all, they didn't deserve to win. So I'm glad that that goal got called back because
Yeah, me
they
too.
didn't deserve to win that game. They didn't deserve to get a point either. So, it kind of serves them right for playing like crap for 55 minutes and then thinking, we'll just put our best forward, best efforts forward in the last 5 minutes, take this thing to OT, probably win it 3-on-3. That honestly seemed like that was their mentality. And they were just going to play a little pitch and catch until they got to that point. Um, in terms of that goal, though, why don't we take a quick break?
Yeah.
Because I do want to break down that goal a little bit because I'm confused and I want to know your thoughts
Sure.
on the whole situation. We did find out, with the league, they put out a memo saying exactly what went down. So we'll tell you about that as well. So that and more coming up next on the Locked On Leafs podcast.
Yeah, and today's show sponsor, one of our favorites, and that is Built Bar. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you're depriving yourself one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor out there, delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it again. All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. Plus, it's actually healthy for you. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories and have a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. So go to built.com right now, snag a box for you and your family. It'll be the perfect treat, or you can just find a good hiding place, hoard them for yourself. Just make sure you go to built.com and get this delicious new flavor. If you need more reasons to go out and get the new flavor of cookie dough chunk puffs, they are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. So it's like eating something that tastes good, but is also good for you. All right. Out of all the many flavors, this is actually one that I don't mind. I'm a big cookie dough, like cookie dough ice cream. This is much healthier than just having cookie dough ice cream. So go to built.com right now. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. So that's promo code LOCKED15 to get 50% off at built.com.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. We're reacting to a pretty garbage 4-2 loss the Maple Leafs had tonight to the Arizona Coyotes. Yes, the Arizona Coyotes. They don't even have an arena, for Pete's sake. They're playing at Arizona State
There's a reason why
University.
they're on the road to start the season.
It's just so infuriating, man. So infuriating. So they almost did come back to tie this game, though, right? So it was 2-0 for the longest time, and then Toronto comes back. They scored 2 quick goals. Nylander, then Marner ends up scoring another one shortly after that. And you're thinking, okay, the team's buzzing a little bit now. They're getting going, and then all of a sudden, boom, Calle Yarncroc takes a penalty. ticky-tack call, if you ask me. I don't know. Anyways, takes a slashing call, and they end up scoring on it, right? Like the Arizona
Why
Coyotes.
did they score on him, Mike? Because Justin Hall couldn't clear the puck.
Well, Justin Hall couldn't clear the puck, and then
Gostisbehere.
yeah. So yes, Justin Hall. I'll say this too. After that happened, there were some Justin Hall sucks chants, which kind of sad.
They're really.
I definitely heard like Justin sucks or like Hall you suck or something like that, and I was like, oh, that's tough, man. That is tough. So he didn't have a great game, I'll say that, but I'm not willing to go out there and chant
Oh,
a
yeah.
specific player and say he sucks. That's a little too much for me. But despite all of that, Toronto did technically score the game tying goal to make it 3-3 after they had allowed that one. Alex Kerfoot on the doorstep bangs away. Celebration ensues. I'm like, they're actually going to pull this one out of their ass and somehow get a point out of it. They don't deserve it, but this is actually going to happen. All right, whatever. And then all of a sudden, they're not lining up. And they say, well, this goal is under review. And we're just watching it. And I'm sitting up there. I'm like, what could possibly be?
Yeah, it was
What are
that.
they reviewing? 'Cause keep in mind, I'm watching it live, right? Like, I'm not watching it on TV. So I don't know what's being said on the television, what they're showing, what angles, or anything like that. I'm thinking, like, oh, like, was it offside? I didn't think that I thought Riley kept it onside. I know it was like up at the point, but I thought for sure he kept it onside. And then they what was the designation for it again? It was a blown coverage play. No, what was the designation they said?
I think that's what it was. It was a blown, like a blown coverage play. I can't remember the exact word.
Yeah, and essentially because the officials on the ice didn't notice that Riley used a hand pass. Really, it just looked like he batted it down. But
He
anyways,
batted it down.
he batted it down. So they called it a hand pass because the next player to gain possession of that puck was Mitch Marner, and it was in the offensive zone. So they missed the hand pass, and apparently, I did not know that the situation room in Toronto can go back and actually like reverse a goal because of that missed call on the ice. I legitimately did not know that that was something that was reviewable, that they could go back and change. This legitimately was news to me. And I asked a few people up there. They said same thing. They were confused also what was going on. But apparently, I think we have a tweet here from the NHL that was sent out as a memo to a lot of the people explaining exactly what had happened tonight. So we can read that email in just a moment. Let me know when you got it here. There it is. So
Oh, I
here's
got it.
the explanation. I'll read it out to those who are listening via podcast form. So the explanation is as follows. The situation room determined that Morgan Riley batted the puck with his hand inside the attacking zone before teammate Mitchell Marner subsequently gained possession and control. According to Rule 79.1, a player may bat a puck in the air with his open hand unless, in the opinion of the on ice officials, Dave, on ice officials, he has directed the puck to a teammate or has allowed his team to gain an advantage and subsequently possession and control of the puck is obtained by a player of the offending team, either directly or deflected off any player or official. So this did deflect off of the Coyotes player, by the way.
Okay.
Also, it did. It hit the guy's leg before Marner got to it. It continues to say, in this case, it was deemed that Marner was the first player to gain possession and control of the puck after Riley batted it with his own hand. I don't understand where it says, unless, in the opinion of the on ice official, and then all of a sudden it's an off ice official that is calling in to make the call.
Yeah, that's the part. That's the part that I didn't get. Like it
Like,
was. This wasn't the on ice officials didn't call it. If they called it, the goal would not have counted because the play would have been blown dead.
also, did they put more time on the clock?
They did. They did
Yeah,
at
okay,
the
they
time.
did. They went back to like where the time was at that point, right? They did.
Yeah.
But like, are you kidding me? Like,
See, that's the
when
part I had the problem with, was that this was a call the officials did not make on the ice, but the rule itself I can get because Clayton Keller never possessed the puck.
let me get
So
it was correct, right? It
the
was the
correct
correct
call
call.
was made. So Leafs fans,
But
you have to admit that the correct
how
call was
many blown calls or incorrect calls are made in a game on a daily basis?
a lot.
At least a dozen, I would say. Like, that's a little wrong, but,
I was
like,
even
there
say
are
half a dozen to
there are
half.
multiple calls that go undetected throughout the game, whether it's an undetected high stick, an undetected cross check, an undetected whatever. But this play, all of a sudden, you're gonna call down and be like, "Hey guys, you missed this one. Actually, we're gonna call that goal back." What?
Like the Arizona Coyotes weren't
What?
clamoring for review either. Like, do you think the Arizona Coyotes would have challenged that play if the and plus
I don't
at
think it's
that point in the game
challengeable. It's not
you were not allowed to challenge it? No.
I don't think so. I think it's just because there was a stoppage in play. Like, I don't know. I think
So
we have
do you also know why this is a big deal too? I didn't realize, so in our group chats with the other Locked On NHL hosts, uh the Locked On Sharks host was just like, "You can thank the Sharks for that review, by the way." Like, what's he talking about? In the Sharks series against the Blues, that very controversial one, there was a controversial overtime winner. Like, this was a while ago, where a hand pass was made that led to an overtime goal.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one from, Eric Carlson?
I believe, yes.
But is that the one, like, that this is that was, like, 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. All I'm saying is the NHL is now in that a lot of businesses, a lot of sports leagues are in, where if a call is not made, we gotta get the calls right. We gotta get the calls right.
So
But
I
here's
have
the
I have the call. I'm gonna play the call just so that we know like, we can react to exactly what was said by
okay.
the official. So,
Alright,
I'm gonna
let me
play it
get
right,
yeah.
wait.
After video review from the Situation Room, it's determined there was a missed game stoppage by Toronto for a glove hand pass by number 44. It was directed to a teammate. Therefore, we have no goal on the ice.
Oh boy.
Missed game stoppage. Also, I actually didn't realize there, but does it also not kinda look like Keller actually, like,
Like
that's his
like
hand? Watch it here.
hang up this thing just so we can see it.
Kinda looks like he bats the puck out of his hand, like, at the same exact time. Like, who knows if that was really Riley?
Off the stick of Keller, and Sheldon Keefe
Look was there.
Riley's hand was actually grabbing the stick, not,
So some people thought that maybe Morgan Riley was grabbing the stick or something like that. At first,
yeah.
that's what people thought. But to say that Morgan Riley was directing the puck in a direction, like they were saying he batted it down, batted the puck was just with his hand. But like you can see with the stick that the Clayton Keller actually kind of touches it. But
That's what I mean. It's like, how is that clear and distinct enough to overturn a goal call like that?
yeah, I don't. That's my issue. Like, look, we both said that, like the goal were like the Leafs didn't deserve to win this game, but I don't want this to be some sort of precedent now going forward where a lot of these plays are going to be reviewed now for something like. Are you going to review every single play like that going forward? I'm very curious to see if the NHL will actually do that.
Yeah, because, like, if you're saying if the Locked On Sharks guy saying you can thank the Sharks for that rule, that was years ago. Like, legitimately years ago. Like, I'm pretty sure this was either in the bubble or even before the pandemic
Before the
where
pandemic,
where that occurred. So, it's like, what, 3 years later this rule comes into effect? Like, you gotta
this
think
is
at some
2019, by the way.
2019, so pre-pandemic. And maybe it's been used and just not in a Leaf game, and I haven't noticed it. I suppose, like, perhaps it was used in, I don't know, like a Philly Washington game at some point, but it was a first for me, and I was really confused as to why, like, that was even a thing. Like, to be quite honest with you, I had no idea that the situation room could call a missed stoppage because they missed something like that on the ice. I just assumed like you have human officials. There is slight human error, and you just got to kind of deal with it. That's why you have some things that are like, how can that be reviewable play by the eye in the sky referee, which essentially what that is, I suppose.
Yep.
But how come that could be reviewable play? Yet last year, Alex Kerfoot and his high stick, which clearly wasn't a high stick hit, but hit Hedman in the shoulder. But you can't review that and go back and say, "Hey guys, actually got that wrong. That's not a penalty."
How about the Auston Matthews, being interfered by Jacob
Jacob
Chikrin
Chicken.
in
Yeah,
that
how about that one
overtime?
too? Like
That one
that
at
one,
least led to a goal. That's what I'm saying.
like that should be a stoppage because based off what just happened, the second he touches the puck, you should have stopped play, right? So like that's where I get so confused by
Yep.
the NHL and just like the everything just makes no sense, man. Makes absolutely no sense. Anyways, that was just probably the most controversial thing of the night, just based on like Toronto was 30 seconds away from tying the game and bringing it to overtime, but I guess not. End up taking the L. A couple of moments later, the Yotes end up scoring a empty net goal, make it 4-2, and that would stand as the final. All right, we'll take one more quick break, Dave. When we get back, it's a game day loss, so we're not doing 3 stars. It's the good, the bad, the ugly. The good's very short. I'll tell you that much. We'll do that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Welcome back into Locked On Leafs, your daily Maple Leafs podcast, which you can get wherever you get your shows. Also now up on YouTube. We are reacting to the Maple Leafs 4-2 loss to the Arizona Coyotes. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti, my co-host. We do this every single game recap. For a loss, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start with the good because it'll probably take 3.2 seconds to go through. But was there anything good, David? Anything at all that you could pull out from tonight's game?
I thought Alexander Kerfoot deserved that promotion to the top line because he
Absolutely,
actually
I agree.
you could see he was flying on the ice. He was trying.
And even like he was the team's best player last game too against Ottawa, I thought.
Yeah, you know what? Like there was with the whole. I give him credit. This offseason has been about when are they going to trade Alexander Kerfoot? Oh, he's the perfect guy to trade. And yet he's looked like one of the better forwards through these few games. Like he's to me, like he's a guy that I'm not even looking to trade right now because he's exactly what this team needs in terms of giving an effort on every shift.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also appreciated the third period coming out, and he was the one who got the promotion up to the top line. So I agree that was something that was good and positive. He was rewarded for the hard work that he put in, not only in this game but also the couple games prior as well, where the third line has been rather spectacular, and the top line been pretty anemic so far. Something that I guess was good. Like the first couple of minutes of the game, I thought the Leafs came out firing. There was that one shift in particular where they had like 2.5 minutes of sustained pressure in zone time and had so many good opportunities, but again, just didn't hit the net. Just never hit the net. So they're moving it around. They're getting these looks, getting these shots off, but either block shots or it was going off of the side of the net. And, so not really getting many grade A chances, which was unfortunate. But it was the first time, I think, all season where that top line had like a full shift of sustained pressure where they kept
Yep.
retrieving pucks. They were, had active sticks and they just kept going at it, barrage after barrage, wave after wave. And it was the first time where I'm like, okay, this is the Matthews, Marner, Bunting line that I've been waiting to see. It really was. And
Yeah.
Michael Bunting had a couple of good opportunities tonight. I didn't think he had a great game. Probably evident the fact that he found himself off of the top line. But funny enough, he did have the highest individual expected goals on the night. So he had a couple of good chances, but overall, I didn't like his game all too much. I didn't like the first line really at all through the middle, 50 minutes or so of the night. All right, what was bad for you, David? And there was a lot of it.
I'm saving my really bad for the ugly section. Bad, Jake Muzzin's injury. That was brutal.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, I know that the guy's now got that injury label, but like, you can't fault the guy for first off not seeing the player, getting blindsided like that, like not intentionally, but getting blindsided, and then you see him down on the ice like that, and then you hear it's a neck injury. Actually, we have that explanation. I want to pull this up.
Yeah. Tweet by a doctor. He tweets about sports injuries.
Yeah.
So this is what he ended up tweeting out. I'll read it for you here, Dave, for those listening.
Yeah.
This is from Dr. Hardis Graywall. Said, quote, I would have guessed concussion protocol, but Leafs reporting as a neck injury, likely a neck muscle strain, quote, brackets, whiplash. Time off would depend on grade of strain, but as long as no concurrent concussion, should be short term, day to day to a couple of weeks for Muzzin. I mean, we'll wait and hear the diagnosis, I suppose, from the Maple Leafs to exactly how long he's going to be out. I don't want to speculate at all, but hopefully it's not a long term thing for Jake Muzzin. That would
Here's the thing. It can start as one thing. This is the same thing what happened last year in St. Louis. It can start as one thing. A couple of days later, he's out for a good amount of time with the concussion. That's the scary part.
Well, it's once you get one, they kind of come a little more often, right? So, they didn't rule it a concussion yet, so I don't want to go and speculate and talk about that. But
No, you can't.
a neck injury, any injury at all to Jake Muzzin is not what you want to see. So that certainly constitutes as the bad. You don't want to see that. What you also didn't want to see tonight was Nick Ritchie scoring the opening goal of the game. Pretty nice redirect, I'll say that. Like, it was a nice play by Big Rich, but I mean, you kind of knew it was coming in a way because every single former Leaf just comes in and dummies the Maple Leafs whenever they come back to town. Big old Nick Ritchie revenge game. Yeah. We joked about it, and it happened. 2 points on the evening, including the game opening goal in the first period. So allowing Nick Ritchie to have his day in Toronto, he literally now has just as many goals in 2 trips to Toronto as a member of the Coyotes than he did when he was with the Maple Leafs for 30 games last season. Like, oh, it's when it rains, it pours for Toronto.
Yep.
All right, there's a whole lot of ugly as well. Give me your ugly, pal.
Auston Matthews.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That game right there is not what you want to see from a guy that is supposed to be setting the next, richest contract in NHL history. I know it's one game, but through these few games, we haven't seen the Auston Matthews that scored 60 plus goals last year.
No, we really haven't. The only goal he's scored so far this year is off of a tip play, and that was just really.
Think he was like, I kind of came out and like, oh, he actually tipped it. Okay.
Yeah, like at first we all thought that it was Muzzin's or Giordano's goal, and then oh no, that wasn't. And even that one, it like ramped up. The goaltender fell backwards and like rolled in. So barely has a goal this year, which is not what you want to see from Matthews. And even tonight, like the couple of looks that he had, put the puck wide. Like, that's not what you see from Auston Matthews a whole lot. Like, he's got a terrific shot, unbelievable shot, the best in the NHL. He's got great accuracy. I don't know tonight, just unfocused. Was he unfocused? Is that why? Like, whatever it was, you're right. And why don't we pull up these comments actually from Sheldon Keefe?
As I do that, can I just make one? If I could ever talk to any of the reporters, can I just ask one thing? Can we just squash this Arizona Coyotes Arizona thing with Auston Matthews? It's actually getting sad to almost embarrassing.
Yeah,
he has to talk about this. That's just a little quick thing for me, but
Sheldon Keefe also would agree with us though that Auston Matthews had an ugly game. Now, he didn't quite say Matthews' name, but he definitely, without saying wink, wink, nudge, nudge, was saying, "Yeah, our big boys got to get going." Here's a tweet from Sheldon Keefe's post-game scrum. He said, "Quote: Our best people have not found their rhythm. The difference between us and Arizona is that we have elite players. Our elite players didn't play like elite players today and couldn't make a difference." That's pretty well a shots fired to the top six, to Auston Matthews, to Mitch Marner, to William Nylander, who didn't do a whole lot until he finally scored late, to John Tavares, who didn't do a whole lot, Morgan Riley. Like this was a shot across the bow to all of the elite players on this team because nobody stepped up. Nobody. Just said Kerfoot was probably the best player on the team for a second straight game. When Kerfoot's your best player, things aren't going well. Things
No.
are not going well for you if Kerfoot's your best player for two
So-
straight games. And that's where we're at for Toronto.
So I would have asked Sheldon Keefe in response, so what needs to be done, or what do you think you need to do as the coach to get these guys going? Because
Dude, if he had the answer, don't you think that by now he would have been able to get it out of him?
that's the question I have though, because I there's only so much a coach can do. I totally get that, but when this sort of thing happens, like not once in a while, like almost half the people going to this game were predicting a loss. Like people actually were betting on the Leafs to lose tonight. Like that's how
Well,
predictable.
there was zero value on taking Toronto to win. Like
No,
even
zero.
the puck line was 2.5, and you still were paying minus money
Yeah.
at a 2.5 puck line.
Like
I think Arizona was plus 425 to win tonight, and it was the third largest upset in Vegas hockey betting history, dating back to coming out of the lockout in 0506. Third largest upset. The
like
Toronto Maple Leafs, ladies and gentlemen.
I have so many people telling me I'm tired of this team coming out unmotivated. I'm tired of them playing like down to their opponent. But my question, look, it's not all on Sheldon Keefe, but he has to take some of the brunt here too. There was no desire until the third period to change things up with the lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted something a lot sooner than that. Midway through the second period, like I was looking over to Mark Masters, who's beside me, and I'm like, we got to get a line juggle, something. Like this team is out of it, out to lunch. Like I'm not sure if people realize how badly Toronto got outplayed in that second period. That's my ugly. That was my ugly, actually. So I'm glad we kind of led it right into it. But you look at that second period, like up on natural stat trick right now, and you take a look at how badly the Coyotes actually won it. Here, I'll share the screen so that you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at. For those who are watching on YouTube, and I'll just try and talk about it for those who are listening. So the second period, first period, okay, Toronto led in the shot share department for Corsi. And the second period, the Coyotes ended up winning. That's not that bad of a disparity. 10 shot attempts to 9, literally one shot difference. But when you go and you look at the shot quality, 9-5 in scoring chances, 7-2. The Arizona Coyotes out high danger chance the Maple Leafs, 7-2 in that period, and had an expected goals differential of 73%. 73% expected goals for the Arizona Coyotes in that second period. They were absolutely dreadful. It was just disgusting to watch. And it got halfway through the period, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why are we still watching these same lines go out there time after time after time again? Why didn't we see any type of switch up from these guys, from Sheldon Keefe? I'm with you, man. It took way too long, first and foremost. And there was no reason for it, realistically.
If Nick Robertson is not in the lineup the next game,
Guaranteed is in the lineup.
but if he's not, I'm just going to put this out here. it's a slap in the face to him, and it's kind of part of the problem. Like, what does Nick Robertson have to do to get in the lineup? Like, really,
He's in the
he should be not only in the lineup, but he should only be taken out of the lineup until he has a bad game.
perhaps, but I'll tell you for two reasons why I can almost guarantee he'll be in the lineup. One, the Leafs played like crap tonight, and Sheldon Keefe
He
asked.
did say lineup changes were coming.
He said, "I haven't spoke with the guys, but good chance some changes are coming." I would imagine Dennis Mulligan sitting and Nick Robertson will get the go ahead in that game against Dallas. Also, because he'll have a chance to play against his brother. So there's two reasons why he'll have an opportunity here to play Toronto, or he'll have an opportunity to play in the Dallas game coming up. But and then also just the fact that I think this was an opportunity for Mulligan to really show up in tonight's game, and he didn't. Literally, maybe one of the more ineffective players out there. I didn't even recognize him. I don't know if I even heard his name or saw him touch the puck.
The puck died on the puck died. Possession died on his stick quite off.
Yeah. So that it might have been his worst game so far as a Maple Leaf, in a game which I thought he was going to have to play really well to keep his spot in the lineup. Like, he didn't.
William Nylander was going into this game with an illness, and he played better than Dennis Mulligan. Well, you expect that.
Not by much. It's not saying much, but yeah, he did.
Like, William Nylander was not 100%, but he at least tried.
Let me tell you some other concerning analytics from tonight's game. So, looking up on Sport Logic, just taking a look at the possession stats, right? So the Toronto Maple Leafs possessed the puck in the O zone, puck in O zone time. Toronto had it for 28 minutes and 31 seconds. Of that, they had actual possession time of 10 minutes and 52 seconds. So they had nearly 11 minutes of actual puck possession while in the offensive zone tonight, whereas Arizona had just 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Yet somehow, in 6 minutes and 6 minutes and 40 seconds, looks like 6 minutes and 40 seconds, maybe. Yeah, 6 minutes and 40 seconds less time in the offensive zone. Arizona had 4 more slot shots tonight. They were the ones working to get into the dirty areas. And go look at where Nick Ritchie's goal was scored from. In the slot. Would you look at that? They worked to get to the dirty areas. Toronto let them get there. And Toronto didn't want to go into the dirty areas. Did they go off and shoot off a ridiculous amount of shots? Yeah, they did. How many shot attempts did they have tonight? They had 44 shot attempts tonight. 44 shot attempts and that was at 5-on-5, actually. Let me go to all strengths.
Well, the power play, garbage again.
Very garbage. 61 shots toward goal tonight. Of those 61 shots, only 28 of them reached. It's only 45%. 45% of their shot attempts actually landed on goal tonight. Gotta be better. Gotta be better. Gotta shoot with purpose. Shoot with purpose, with intent. Just gotta be flat out better. It was an unacceptable game out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Unacceptable. Gotta be better. And I honestly wonder, how hot is the seat getting for Sheldon Keefe after tonight? I really wonder that.
I'm putting him on the litmus test with him and Bruce Boudreau in Vancouver.
Who's hotter?
I think Bruce, just because of the blown leads that Vancouver's been through. But at the same time, Sheldon Keefe, given how things have gone last.
I mean, it is Vancouver. Like, they played Edmonton, who's a good team. They played Washington, who's a good team. They blew a lead to Philly. Okay. Philly's 2-0, actually. Maybe 3-0. They play tonight? Maybe they're 3-0 now if they played tonight. I don't know if they did or not. No, they didn't. So they're 2-0.
The thing about Boudreau is he was brought in before the management staff was brought in. That I'm pretty sure of. Yeah,
and he's like a lame duck coach. Came in on it was like an option deal or something like that. So yeah, he's in a weird situation. There's definitely some warming of the seat on Sheldon Keefe, though. I'll say that. Maybe the sports books weren't that far off. Bet Online, when they came out and said Sheldon Keefe, best odds to get fired first, maybe they weren't that far off, because that seat is getting very warm right now.
If I'm not mistaken, out of all the Atlantic teams, the Leafs have allowed the most goals against. They have a -1 goal differential. So they've allowed 12 goals and they've scored 11. So it's actually the worst in the Atlantic Division. Montreal and the Lightning have allowed 11. So at least Leafs they're closer to Tampa in that regard. But yeah, like there aren't many teams worse defensively right now than the Leafs. And
Well, I think they've played a little bit more games than everybody. But when you look at like the expected numbers, where's Toronto at for expected goals against right now? If you look at, because I'm pretty sure it's relatively high, if I'm not mistaken, ninth. So they've given up the ninth most expected goals.
that's not
Which last year they were like sixth or seventh best. Now they're ninth worst right now through the first 4 games. They've given up 86 scoring chances, which again is tied for 8th worst in the league.
And how many games are they trailing? That's another thing.
High danger chances, which means they are not helping their goaltenders, by the way. High danger chances, they've given up 42. High danger chances, second to only the Arizona Coyotes.
Disgusting.
So they had to tighten it up. Gotta tighten it up. Absolutely need to. If this team doesn't want to see the season go south quick, they gotta tighten it up. And Sheldon Keefe has to get it tightened up for these guys. He's got to come back with a good game plan and a good approach. They've got it is a perfect time to head out west on this road trip. Let me tell you that, because they have one more game at home, or are they heading on the road trip now?
I think they have Dallas, then they have the Jets.
All on the road, right?
Dallas is in Toronto. Jets is on the road.
So they got Dallas here in Toronto on Thursday. And then perfect time to hit the road, because things getting a little spicy in the Toronto market, I'll tell you that. But we'll see what happens on Thursday. They got a couple of days. Tomorrow's an off day for the Maple Leafs to figure their stuff out, and then they'll come back Wednesday for full day of practice, and hopefully can put forward a much better effort on Thursday. The good thing is the Dallas Stars are projected to be, a playoff competitor, so should actually play well against them.
They'll actually show up.
Unlike the non-playoff teams. Did you see the tweet from Dom Lucian actually earlier today?
No.
Something about the Maple Leafs have the worst record in the NHL in the last 2 seasons when being a -200 or better favorite. Yeah. So when they're heavy favorites by Vegas, they tend to lose, my friend.
Fade, as they say in the gambling world, fade.
Yeah, fade when Toronto is heavy favorites, because they just can't get it done. The mentality isn't there. And that's another question that maybe we can talk about tomorrow. At what point do you just look at this group and say, maybe this group mentally can't figure it out? Maybe we'll have that chat tomorrow, because that's going to do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcasts and platform and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. Go ahead, smash that like button if you're here on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Let us know your feelings on the Toronto Maple Leafs right now through 4 games of the regular season. Are we overreacting? Are we properly reacting? Is it an appropriate reaction right now? Let us know down below your thoughts. I'm sure they'll be all over the place, as they typically are, depending on who's commenting. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.